Cam Ward to the Titans, Travis to the Browns, Shedeur to the Giants. Coach, we'll start with you. Do you like Shedeur in New York?
I don't love it. It's one of those things where if you do bring Shedeur in, there's no veteran quarterback on the roster right now, so there's nobody really to take any pressure off him if he's not ready to play. So you better have a conviction that not only is he going to come in and play at a high level, but he's going to come in and play at a high level right away, and that's a lot to ask for any player. And now you've got an offensive line or an offense that we saw what happened to Daniel Jones, where he got dinged as many times as he did. Hopefully they get that problem fixed. I was talking about that with Zach, and Zach said, well, at least Shedeur will be used to getting hit that many times, from what happened to him in Colorado. So there's that, and then there's the, being in New York, I think he'll be fine there. He's obviously used to attention and probably thrives in that environment. And you've got now the Deion component that's just going to hang over the organization, and you can't be afraid of that if you have a conviction that Shedeur is your guy. But it's there, and it's real, and it's not going to go away, and it's going to be talked about, and not only talked about, but it's going to be amplified over and over again, especially if they struggle early.
As far as Deion coming in to take Daboll's job?
Yeah, it's,
or just what he thinks about what's going on.
I think it'll be all of it. I think it'll be what he thinks about what's going on. I think it'll be about him coming in and working with his son in New York. None of those stories are going to go away. And if anything, they're going to be on the back page, and they're going to be on the back page early and often.
I think that the Deion thing is going to be there, but that would be there with most teams he goes to, unless he goes to a team with an established, franchise quarterback. I do like it. I think, as you said, he's grown up as Deion Sanders' son. He can handle the spotlight. He's been in it his whole life. So that won't faze him at all. And I think from what he's shown, I think he'll be great in that spotlight. It does make the team, front page, back page news. That could be good or bad. But as a football player, I think, I've talked about it before, didn't have much of an offensive line, didn't have much of a running game, and was not only very good, but accurate too. So if he can be accurate under duress, I heard Mel Kiper say this, I assume it's true. He got sacked every game he played at Colorado. So he always was kind of under duress. And Joel Klatt said he can be magical when he's got time to throw, and he can be really good when he's, under duress. So I like him a lot, and I think it'd be a great play.
So I think that I'm rooting for Shedeur. I think this would be one of the worst case scenarios.
Wow.
Because you have I don't think he's going to instantly be ready. I do think in New York he will have to be. I also think that it probably would help him to have expectations tamped down a bit, which would happen simply by sliding out of the top 10. But, a top three pick, you have almost the same expectation as the number one overall pick. But the number one overall pick this year has the benefit of playing in the least talked about market in the NFL in Tennessee. And the number two overall pick has the benefit of playing in another market we don't talk about a ton, in Cleveland.
Sorry, Coach.
And so, no, but I mean, it's just, I think Coach agrees with me. And so you have a team that has had questions for years about its ability to craft an offensive line. You have the number one media market. You have all of the hype and expectation and the added piece of playing in the NFC East, which means you have more, like a disproportionate number of games are marquee games, whether against the Cowboys or the Eagles. All of that, I don't think is what's best for a player that I do think is incredibly raw as far as going from, I forget what, FCS, 1AA is what I'll call it forever because I'm an old man, and then to the Big 12, which is, again, it's a power conference, I understand, but my entire life has been the easiest to throw in, the worst defensively and those types of things. As far as you're talking about the guys he didn't have, you're right about the weaknesses. What he did have was every single week an advantage of my receivers are better than your corners in basically every game he played all year. And so I just think it's going to be a slow build for him. And number 3 pick of the draft to New York City is not a place where a slow build is likely allowed.
And it's not just the NFC East, but it's the Jaden Daniels shadow. I mean, you've got the Super Bowl champs, but you also have what Jaden did, which now is the bar, and it's going to be in over and over again. That's going to be talked about in comparison to how you're doing.
But he's going to be spotlighted wherever he goes. And if you're the Giants, you could, if he's still available, you could bring in a Russell Wilson to mentor him to start. You know what I mean?
So I like that. I would really like for Shedeur maybe you'll be the starter by Thanksgiving. I don't think that's realistic in the modern NFL. I don't think that happens very often. Sitting your whole rookie year basically never happens unless you have a truly, you know what I mean, entrenched. If you really were to slip and go to the Rams and the Rams, it's something like that. And I don't think that's where they would use their pick. But people that watch the show a lot know I'm probably a bit of a broken record on this. I have no character concerns with Shedeur. I think that's an unfair kind of maligning of him. I have a ton of how ready is he to play starting NFL quarterback on the field concerns. And I also just, as the mathy part of my brain is like, dude, a guy who would have been the 7th quarterback on everyone's board in last year's draft is going to be the 3rd pick of this year's draft. That just feels like, you know what I mean, a lot. And so that is... Those are my concerns.
The Giants have to do something. We're running out of quarterbacks here. And Russ, I mean, for all the concerns you might have about Shedeur being ready, looking at Russ and like, well, it didn't really work at the end in Seattle, so they were okay moving on. Then the Broncos were okay moving on, and now the Steelers are okay moving on, but I can fix it. Like, that seems just so
but a little bit of that.
No, that's just I would say bringing him in to mentor Shedeur.
We've also never seen that.
He's ready.
He's going to sign up for that?
Well, Russ might sign up for. I mean, Russ doesn't seem like he's going to be in charge of a lot of options.
And look, this is the problem with shopping hungry. Yeah, and the Giants have what? Tommy DeVito is the only guy on the roster right now. So you're going to have to go get a veteran quarterback no matter what. And Russell Wilson, for Pittsburgh being happy to move on from him, did play a lot better than he played prior to that and showed signs of life and is a lot better than what they have on the roster right now. And at least it gives you some flexibility going into the draft to make decisions that aren't desperate.
Can I just get into the head of John Mara? John Mara, for what it's worth, this was a story from the Saquon, from him saying it would be upset if Saquon wins it. Now nobody wants to do Hard Knocks. In a weird way, the defining moment of the Giants season, I could argue, was that moment in Joe Shane's room where it's like, hey, no, I couldn't sleep at night. That's the one thing that jumps out to me. Do you think that John Mara has an urge to have a little bit of buzz, a little bit of, man, some good
Well, he
vibes?
said it. He said when he said he was bringing him back, he was like, but I'm running out of patience. But
that to me is problematic too, because we saw what happened in Detroit, where the owner, when they didn't do very well early on organizationally, the owner said, "We believe we have the right guys. I'm going to stick with them," and then the program popped, and they are who they are. Where this is the reverse of it. It's like, I'm going to stick with you, but I'm really mad at you, and at any point I'm going to pull the plug. That's not great going into the next season, especially from a locker room perspective, where a lot of these guys are looking and saying, is he going to be the coach for the full season, or is this a 4 or 5 game audition before he gets yanked?
Just real quick, I agree with you in principle that, what do you always say, Wilds? Indecision is another phrase you've coined.
Oh, it's not mine.
You coined it.
No decision is a decision?
Indecision is worse than the wrong decision or something.
Yeah, the top 3 decisions. The first is the right decision. Second is the wrong decision. Third is indecision.
Hold on, just real quick. That's the catchphrase you won't claim you invented?
I didn't.
When you claim you invented iron sharpens iron and defense wins championships?
I did that.
Okay, my bad. So it might have been better to just rip the Band-Aid off and clean house this offseason. But in fairness to John Mara, The Lions owner said that midway into year 2, like we believe in our guys, Shane and Dable have had 3 full seasons already.
But also, in fairness to that, or to the Giants, is he did win Coach of the Year.
His first year he was really good.
He can take a team
and then
to
the next
playoffs,
2 years were bad.
So it's just how you want to look at it.
Okay. Well, we're going to a little bit of a phrase about going on the darkness retreat. So, Brew, what's your reaction?
I mean, Cam, I love Cam Hayward, but you got to understand the position you're in. You don't have a quarterback. They talk later about Mason Rudolph being the option.
Yeah.
So
Played in a playoff game more recently than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody's taking Mason Rudolph over Aaron Rodgers, so I don't like it.
Watch out, Coach.
I love it. I can't do it. I love it.
You held it too long. I didn't know.
No, I mean, this is what, like, if Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, we all said it with Tomlin anyway. He's not changing the culture, but now you got guys in the locker room who are really good players themselves. Like, show us something. And I'm sure they won't mistreat him, be mean to him, but show us something. He's not going in as a savior like he was with the Jets. And that, honestly, is what Aaron Rodgers needs. Like, if he's got anything left, he will be in a prove-it situation. Nobody's assuming you're still great. You got to prove something to us. I actually love this from Cam Hayward.
So I might like it from Cam Hayward, but I disagree that that's the situation he'll find himself in. He will be.
If he goes to Pittsburgh?
He goes anywhere he goes, almost by definition at this point, will have been waiting on his timeline. Every single team that might want Aaron Rodgers would like to know right now. And Aaron Rodgers is waiting. And Schefter has come out and said the Vikings, it's more Rodgers' interest in the Vikings than Vikings' interest in Rodgers. Schefter also came out and said something that I have been postulating, no sourcing, just postulating for quite some time, that the Vikings' veteran quarterback as insurance for J.J. McCarthy might very well end up being Kirk Cousins. I think that makes the most sense. I don't think Kirk Cousins is staying in Atlanta. And so Rodgers, by virtue of rap sheet comes out and says it might be after the draft. Rodgers is making it to where this will be on his own terms. The innocent bystander in this is poor Russell Wilson, who Russell Wilson's like, where do I get to play next year? And everyone's like, well, Russell, give us a minute.
Hold on a second.
And I think, and this is where, as much as annoyed as I am by a lot of the things Aaron Rodgers does, this I understand actually the strategy of, which is if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I also wouldn't mind waiting for the draft if the teams are going to let me, because I want to see, did you draft a quarterback? I think
that's true.
I think he clearly wants to be a Viking. I think they're too smart for that. I think he is going to settle for being a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think he wants to check and make sure the Steelers do not draft Jackson Dart in round 1 or Shedeur slips and they draft him. I do not think Aaron Rodgers wants to be in a quarterback competition. I do not think Aaron Rodgers wants to risk at all the embarrassment of being benched. And I think he wants to see all the pieces on the chessboard before he makes his decision. And all these teams are letting him do it. No team has been like, hard deadline. You know what I mean?
They can't give him a hard deadline. And why?
Well, they could.
Great. Go ahead. Give him a hard deadline. I think Aaron Rodgers, from his perspective, he should wait till after the draft. He should wait longer. He should wait and see what the whole landscape. Well, just see what the landscape of the league looks like. You're going to go through the draft process. Guys are going to get drafted that, who thought Atlanta was going to take a quarterback last year?
Right.
Okay, so things are going to happen that we don't anticipate right now, and things are going to look different. So why not wait and figure out what your best situation is? Then you don't have to go to OTAs. You don't have to worry about going on vacation to Egypt because you're going to miss mandatory minicamp. Do whatever you want to do. You're going to have value. He is going to have value for somebody, and he's going to have even more leverage as teams get desperate after the draft unfolds, after free agency unfolds, and they're looking around and going, our quarterback situation really isn't that good.
But everything you said creates a situation like the Jets.
Yes.
Even if it's a Tomlin head coach or whoever it is, That's why, like, the only place I want Aaron Rodgers is when he's not coming in as the savior.
But Brew, when you're organizationally, when you're desperate for that position, that's when you're willing to make those decisions where you have to give. Because if your alternative is so bad that
Then the Steelers
that you have no opportunity to be really competitive, and you've got a chance with a guy who you think can at least give you a shot to be in the mix because your team, other than quarterback, is pretty good.
If he's going to make them wait, they should go get Russell Wilson.
Yes.
We talked about they got two deep threat receivers now.
I couldn't believe, I couldn't imagine, I should say, Wilds, being in charge of an NFL team and putting my fate of this upcoming season at the most important position in sports at the whim of this guy. Yeah, especially, like, I could totally understand doing it when it was, sorry to mix sports and sorry to bring up LeBron, when LeBron was potentially leaving Miami. Forget when he was leaving Cleveland.
Sure. Right.
NBA free agency was supposed to open July 1st. It didn't really open until July 8th or whenever it was because every team with cap space was like, maybe, like, we got to see if we're getting LeBron. And then, so Gordon Hayward, I think, famously had to, everybody had to wait on LeBron. Well, that was the far and away best player at the league in his prime. To put your team building process on hold for roughly the 20th best quarterback in football at best. And I know
that's very
right. That is just an insane way to do business.
But he's not the 20th best quarterback available right now. That's the difference. Is you may say he's the 20th best quarterback in the league.
That's a good point. Have to look at the best quarterback available right now.
Who is the best quarterback available right now? And that's what you're putting your stuff on hold for. And then when you look at the draft, are you going to have an opportunity to draft someone that you want and feel can fill that void or not? And if you think not, then he is the best quarterback available for your organization this offseason.
You know what would scare the AFC?
Scare the AFC.
If all of a sudden every AFC GM's phone started to buzz and it said the Steelers are sending X amount of draft picks to the Titans and are expected to draft Cam Hayward. I'd be like, oh no, the Steelers are serious about play. And everybody would be like, oh, the Steelers are serious. But instead, they're going to do something like this and just
right, which is also why I don't hate them playing Mason Rudolph. Because I say there is
because they're going to be terrible.
Well,
they're not going to be terrible.
I say, well, I don't know. I mean, I say there's a 5% chance that they are, you know, a playoff team like they were more than that. Sorry, a 5% chance they're actually quite good. That Mason Rudolph has, a late blooming arc. I'll give 5%, 1 in 20.
Yeah, we've seen it with multiple quarterbacks.
We've seen it. Now those guys were mostly first-round picks, but Mason played decent, okay for them the year they lost in the playoffs to Buffalo with him as the starting quarterback. But more likely than not, you finally bottom out and can actually draft your quarterback, you know, which is what we've been talking about. But this playing right for, it's like the Steelers are just trying to hit an exacta. We want to be the 15th best team in the league every year. And they're unbelievable.
The standard is the standard.
And we're being slightly above average every single year.
The Patriots have rebuilt twice.
I don't know that we should be using the Patriots.
We've won a Super Bowl.
Okay, that part was good.
Twice.
We have won a Super Bowl. We had the Mac Jones rebuild, and now we have the Drake May rebuild.
Neither one of those worked.
Since the Steelers have won a playoff game.
Yeah, no, that part's the Super Bowl thing's good.
Was not
won a Super Bowl in 2 rebuilds.
That wasn't a rebuild. That was part of the
I'm saying we've gone 3 chapters.
He's saying they won a Super Bowl. They drafted a first-round quarterback. He flamed out. They drafted another first-round quarterback. He hasn't flamed out yet. That's what he's saying.
Are those rebuilds if they flame out?
Right, exactly.
Attempted Wilds. I'm with you. Attempted rebuild.
They fired the contractor.
Yes, that's his point. His point is you can do
the Steelers
you can do it twice. They did one.
They've attempted rebuilds with Kenny Pickett.
But that's like an
and they brought in all those guys, Trubisky.
Yeah.
And
let me use a different example that they won't kill you for. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.